With the second round of the 2023 NHL playoffs set to begin tonight, let's take a quick look back at who the top performers and who the worst performers of the first round were. The way this video is going to lay out is I'm going to name my 3 MVPs of round number 1, 3 players that I think had a horrible round number 1, and then a couple honorable mentions of who also could have been an MVP. So let's get right into it. My first MVP has got to be from Edmonton, the young defenseman, former 10th overall pick, Evan Bouchard. Evan Bouchard had quite a mid-regular season up until the trade deadline where Ekholm was brought in, and Bouchard just looked really good. And he's carried that momentum into the playoffs and has been a huge contributor to Edmonton's offense. And I know he is a defenseman, but he is an offensive D-man, and he's been playing extremely well. He has 2 goals and 8 assists for a total of 10 points in 6 games. Now, just to put that into perspective with the team that is currently tied for second in points, only Leon Draisaitl is ahead with 11, and he's tied with McDavid at 10. He's had an amazing first round. Now, that's going to be all for one of my MVPs. Moving on to my second MVP. It's going to be from New Jersey, Akira Schmid. This guy Schmid all over the New York Rangers. As soon as he was brought in, he made the Devils look like an extremely complete team. He was not letting the Rangers get to him other than in Game 6. And he's a real big reason why the Devils are still in the playoffs today. He currently sits top 3 in save percentage in this year's playoffs, but the only 2 guys ahead of him are Freddie Anderson and Jack Campbell, who only played a game each. So in my eyes, Akira Schmid, the top performing goaltender in round number 1. It's going to be exciting to see what he could bring to round number 2, and I expect him to stay solid because it did not seem like the New York Rangers' high offensive skills got to him at all. Now that's going to be it for my second MVP. For my third MVP, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be expecting me to say his name, and you're going to be right about that, and that is from the Florida Panthers, Matthew Tkachuk. Other than Bobrovsky and Montour, Mr. Mouthguard is literally the only reason the Panthers even had a chance against the Bruins, and a very big reason why they won. I'm even tempted to say he's the best player in the East right now. I genuinely can't think of another player who had a better first round than him and who was more clutch than him. Not even just in the East. He's just the best player for his team at the moment. Like, he is the most valuable player, hands down. Without him, the Florida Panthers probably would have got swept. He just brings so much to the game. He's so annoying to play against, and that's what makes him such a valuable player. And you know what? He's got to be my best performer of round 1. There's just no question there. And it seems like the pressure of him playing against the Boston Bruins, followed by the Toronto Maple Leafs, is not getting to him at all, and he seems like he's up for the challenge. So prepare yourselves, Toronto. Matthew Tkachuk is a menace. Now, that's it for my MVPs. Just a couple of honorable mentions. I have Leon Draisaitl just because he's been a top goal scorer for the Edmonton Oilers. I also had Bertuzzi. I think he had a real good series, very underrated. I had Mikko Rantanen. I also had Morgan Rielly. I think he had a great bounce back from the terrible regular season he had. He helped the Toronto Maple Leafs solve Vasilevsky for the first time, and he had a great series. And the last honorable mention is going to go to the entire Seattle Kraken team. I don't know, man. I can't just pinpoint one player on the team. I think they're just a complete team with a lot of depth. The whole team works super well together, and they eliminated the reigning champs, the Colorado Avalanche. And that is extremely impressive for a team that just got together last year, and it is the franchise's second year in history. So, good stuff there from the Seattle Kraken and the other honorable mentions. Now it is time for the worst performers of round 1. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of them, but I've narrowed it down to 3 guys in my opinion, mostly from the games I watched, who I thought should have been better, or people that were just downright horrible. So my top 3 worst players has got to be Kirill Kaprizov. He just did not have a good series at all. He did not help the Minnesota Wild one bit. I understand he was injured. From a superstar player, you just have to give a bit more than 1 point. It's just, it's just not great. It's unfortunate that he was injured, but at the end of the day, it's just not a good performance at all. So he's one of my top 3 worst. Now, the other ones I have has to be Linus Ullmark. And do I have to say any more about that? I mean, he's pretty much one of the reasons the Boston Bruins lost. He coughed up that puck in overtime when the Bruins could have ended the series in Game 5, and he made them go back to Florida for Game 6. That was just horrible. He was also playing injured. I don't get why you're still playing injured when you have an extremely talented backup in Jeremy Swayman. It makes no sense to me. And from his regular season, a goalie that was hands down going to win the Vezina Trophy, to probably not even getting a nomination at this point after that performance, he's got to be in my top 3 worst performers for round number 1. And finally, my last worst performer for the video has got to be Vinny Desharnais, the defenseman from the Edmonton Oilers. My goodness, I could not watch this guy. He just looked absolutely terrible. Every time he was on the ice, the LA Kings scored, and it just made the series way closer than it should have been. The Edmonton Oilers should have just stole that series, and it went all the way to 6, to the point where they had to start scratching Vinny or just benching him for periods, and it really helped the Edmonton Oilers a lot. I'm not sure he's going to be getting that much ice time in round 2, and I hope he doesn't, because round 1 was extremely brutal. He coughed up way too many giveaways, not defending well, and it just seemed like every time he was on the ice, it was a very high chance the LA Kings were going to score. Anyways, guys, that is going to be all for today's video. Let me know down in the comments who your MVPs were or who you thought had a very underwhelming performance. And if you did enjoy today's video, don't be afraid to hit that like button. I'll be able to make another video for round number 2 if you guys enjoy this kind of stuff. Anyways, guys, that's going to be all. I'll see you all next time. Take care.